Hey everyone, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. So this is part 2 of my ink journal or pen and ink journal setup video, and I will be swatching all of the ink samples that I currently own. So I will be swatching in my Hobonichi A5 notebook with Tomoe River paper, and I'll be swatching with my Speedball B nib as well as my Kakamori brass nib. So stay tuned for all of the swatching. So the first of the samples I have here is Andurilium Tulip Moth Warm. I really like this brown. It's a bit more of a muted, I say muted brown, but dusty brown. I like to use the adjective of dusty for these. And it's just such a well-behaved ink. I don't have a lot of it. The next time I use this, I'll probably end up using the whole sample, but I love it. And Andurilium inks are really well-behaved and beautiful. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co. Armadillo. I have not purchased any Birmingham Pen Co. inks myself. I have been gifted these beautiful inks from friends, and this one is a beautiful kind of grayish purple. Kind of reminds me actually of Robert Oster and Atlas's Sidewalk Gum. It's that base color, but Birmingham Pen Co. do these chromo shading inks really well. The next Birmingham Pen Co. ink is Antique Aubergine, and I realized I mixed up my alphabet between Armadillo and Antique Aubergine. This is another dusty purple ink, and it's going to be interesting because I'm going to swatch a whole bunch of Birmingham Pen Co. inks on this one page, and you're going to see how similar some of these look. Actually, Armadillo does look very, very similar to Antique Aubergine, but I'm looking forward to just using what I have this year. The next ink I have is Birmingham Pen Co. Barley. Thank you, Pam, for sending me so much of this ink. I have 2 samples of this, or 2 sample vials of this. I really like this more muted orangey yellow. It's actually a very legible ink considering how much more muted it is compared to, for example, Ferris Wheel Press Buttered Popcorn. I really like this as a summery or even fall ink. The next ink from Birmingham Pen Co. is Basil Pesto, and this one is so interesting because it kind of goes down looking very similar to Barley, but then it dries to this beautiful, beautiful green, really interesting ink. The next Birmingham Pen Co. ink is Birmingham Pen Co. Cherry Blossom. Again, thank you, Pam. These are beautiful. It's more of a magenta-y type purple. I haven't used this one as often, and I really actually need to get all of these into a pen. This is the thing that I like about cataloging all of my inks at the end/beginning of the year, because I really can take stock of what I have. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co. Fox Squirrel. I have been sent a sample of this before, and then I liked it so much that another friend sent me another sample of this. Again, another beautiful brown ink. You guys know that I love my brown inks right now, very surprisingly, actually. But another warm, comfy, creamy brown. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co. Milkweed. This is a lovely, more muted purple. I think it matches really well with, oh my gosh, what ink does that one remind me of? It reminds me of a Sailor ink, and now I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, but it feels like a very similar ink to a specific Sailor ink, and I know I'm being very vague, so I apologize for that, but again, a very pretty purple ink. The next ink is an ink that I didn't think that I'd like, but I actually really enjoyed this one. This is Birmingham Pen Co. Neutron Star. It is a darker blue with a bit of a red sheen, but then it also has these beautiful blue shimmers in it. Really, really lovely ink. What does it remind me of? I can't remember what this reminds me of, but it's not one that I thought I would like because of the sheen, but it's one of those where I'm like, I need to try it again. And I like being able to give inks second chances. The next ink is Pennsylvania Fieldstone. This is one that I've seen a lot of people really like, and it's another one of those, I guess, muted purples to me, which now that I'm looking back on what I so far have from Birmingham Pen Co., there's a lot in this particular shade, and it is lovely, but now that I'm doing a categorization of all of my ink samples, it may not be one that I necessarily need. But this is why I'm doing this ink inventory, so that I can look through what I have and see what I want to use or maybe get rid of. The next ink from Birmingham Pen Co is Eroded Bronze, and it's a really nice kind of denim blue, which is very interesting. I say denim blue, but more of like a grayish dusty blue, not a Konpeki type of blue. I actually really like this, and I haven't used it yet. It's one of the samples that I'm trying to work through, but it's really pretty, and I feel like I should use it soon. Next we have Wearingeul. This one has a little bit of chrome shading in here because it looks more pinky purple, and then this actually shades really well. I just used this in a pen this last month, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like it really matches my nib holder as well. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co Projector Film, and now that I'm swatching this, this looks like a lighter version or a muted version of Tasha Ume Murasaki. So you've got that kind of pinky brown, and then when you look at the actual ink, there's, even in the swatch, it looks a little bit more yellow as well. So another interesting one, very similar to Tasha Ume Murasaki. Next we have Puce Lagoon. This is one that I have not yet had a chance to put into a pen, but I'm really liking this grayish blue green. Really interesting, and I don't know, maybe it's just like the lines on the page making me think there's a little bit of pink in there. There isn't. It's a very grayish type of blue green. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co Robin's Egg. I feel like I have a lot of No, I don't have a lot of blue inks, but I feel like this is very similar to one I already have in bottle form. But again, this is the whole point of me doing this ink inventory, is to go through what I have and see if there's anything that needs to be kept or used or anything like that. And this one I actually used just this last month, and I really enjoyed this ink. So this one I may keep for future uses. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co Scuttle Butt. This feels like a lighter version of Pilot Oroshizuku Tsukio, and it's leaning a little darker than Birmingham Pen Co Robin's Egg. I actually really like this ink. I don't own a lot of blues, so I think I'm gonna hang on to whatever blue samples I have just so that I can work through them, because blue is not a color I normally go for. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co Sea Holly. I used this in a pen a couple of months ago, but wasn't really happy with the performance of the ink. It reminds me a little bit of Verdigris from Herbon, and it's one of those grayish blues. I need to use it in a pen that actually seals well so that it doesn't look like it's black, because the pen itself hasn't sealed well. So this one I will try again. The next ink is Birmingham Pen Co Abandoned Shipyard, and I'm looking at like the order that I put these in, and I'm like, this started with the letter A. Why did I leave this last? Oh boy. But it is a darker green with like hints of gray in it. It's one of those, again, dusty inks that seem to be the specialty of Birmingham Pen Co. I don't think I've used this in a pen yet, but I really should do soon. The next ink is Diamine Bah Humbug. This is from an inkvent calendar. I think it was 2023's inkvent calendar that this came from, and this sample was sent to me by a pen friend. I really like the burgundy base of this with the pink shimmers. Really, really fun ink, and Diamine do shimmers really, really well. Next we have Diamine Cashmere Rose, another one from the 2023 inkvent calendar. This one is a lovely pink color, not necessarily dusty pink, but one of those more muted pinks, and it shades really beautifully. The next ink is Diamine Dusted Truffle, and this is also from the inkvent 2023. I really love the brown beigey base of this ink, and then you add the silver shimmer on top, and it's just such a lovely neutral color with a bit of pizzazz because of that shimmer. The next ink is Diamine with Cult Pens, and this is Eau de Nil. It reminds me of a lighter Diamine Enchanted Ocean, but obviously without the shimmer. I'm gonna try and use this in a pen within the next month or so and then see how I feel about it. May end up giving it away once I'm done with it. The next ink is Diamine Jingleberry. Again, another one from the 2020, I think it's the 2023 inkvent calendar. Please correct me if I am wrong. This one is a very fun ink and it really, the name really suits it. It's a bright, punchy magenta pink. Really fun. The next ink is Diamine Memory Lane, and this one is a really beautiful lighter lilac-y purple with a silver shimmer. And now that I'm seeing it again, I really want to put this in a pen. I love the purple with the silver shimmer. It's just, it's lovely, lovely. The next ink is Diamine Olive Swirl. Again, another one from the Diamine inkvent calendar. And this was probably one of my favorites from the 2023 inkvent calendar. I love the green, the olivey green base of it. And then you add that green silver shimmer. So fun. Now, tell me, who here has, is it Colorverse Brain? Tell me if Diamine Olive Swirl is very similar to it, because I'm very tempted by Colorverse Brain, but if it's too similar to Olive Swirl, then I won't buy it. So let me know. The next ink is another Diamine inkvent. It is One More Sleep. And I've completely forgotten what this ink looked like. And now it reminds me of, oh my gosh, it was on the previous page, but this has got more of like a denim blue type of color. And for some reason, when I first swatched it last year, it looked more purple to me, but it looks more like a denim jean blue now. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe it's changed in a year while sitting in my cupboard. I don't know. Next, we have Diamine Party Time, and I'm actually not too sure if this was from the 2022 inkvent calendar or 2023. I think it was 2022, and I can see how it can look really similar to Jingleberry, but Party Time has a really lovely purple shimmer, and I haven't used this in a while, and I really need to dig out some of these, and because it's just so fun. This one's just so fun. I don't think I picked up enough of the purple shimmer when doing the swatch, but that's okay. Next, we have another collaboration between Diamine and Cult Pens. This is part of their 7 Deadly Sins collection. This is Pride, and it's got a lovely punchy purple, and then you add the shimmers to it. The shimmers in here are a mix of like a silver and a purple. It's a really lovely ink, and I've just used this in a pen recently, and the shimmers actually distribute really well. Next up, we have Diamine Rainbows, and I think this is another inkvent, but not from 2023. I'm not sure what year this is from, but I really like this purple. It went down quite thick on the initial swatch, but in the writing sample, you can see the beautiful purple mixed with that pink shimmer. There's something about this purple ink mixed with the pink shimmer that just makes it stand out. And next to Diamine Pride, you can really see the difference between that type of purple and then this cooler purple. Amazing how purple has such different shades to it. I love it. Next, we have Diamine Sugar Snap. This one is from the 2023 inkvent calendar, and I was a little skeptical about this at first because I'm like, it's going to be too close to Olive Swirl, but no, you've got a really great base for a green, similar to Diamine Meadow, and then you add the green silver shimmer on top. It shows really well in the writing sample, but also in the different line widths, and it really works great, even in an extra fine nib. Next, we have Diamine Triple Chocolate. This is from the inkvent calendar of 2019, and this one I really feel like it feels like a warm chocolate, not just like a chocolate bar, but it feels like a warm chocolatey drink. I actually currently have this inked in my Walltown pens, and it is a lovely flow out of an extra fine nib, and it shades beautifully. So Diamine Triple Chocolate. Next we have Diamine Weeping Willow, and I remember this one had mixed reviews last year when it was first opened, and now that I've tried it, I really love it. You can't see it yet in this ink sample, but it's got some chromo shading properties where it's this lighter brown beige, and then there's kind of hints of green in it. I really love this, and I've been tempted to buy a bottle of this. Yeah, still thinking about that one. Next we have Diamine Yule Log, but even before I do that, look at how Weeping Willow has shaded beautiful. But Diamine Yule Log reminds me a little bit of, there's another shimmer-tastic. Is it Cocoa Shimmer? I think it's Cocoa Shimmer. Reminds me of that as well. It's got a really lovely brown base and then this bronzy shimmer. I used it last year for my December Currently Inked, and it was a very fun ink to use. Still planning on keeping it and hoping to use it sometime this year. The next ink is Dominant Industries Dutch Moorland. This ink, I had high hopes for this ink. I really love the beigey base of this mixed with that pink shimmer, but I had this inked in my Platinum Preppy, which the shimmer was just not coming through into the writing sample. So I'm going to hang on to this and try it again in a different pen to see if I can get that shimmer, because it's so beautiful. But if it doesn't work in a pen, then what's the point, right? So I'm gonna give this ink another chance. Next we have Dominant Industry Maple, and I haven't used this in a while, and I've had this sample in my collection for at least a year and a bit, and I really like this because it's more of a muted red. It's not such a harsh red, it's more of a softer orangey red, and that's why I really like it, because if you see in the line swatches, it just looks like more orange than red, and I really like that. Next we have Ferris Wheel Press Knitted Nettle. This was a sample sent to me by a pen friend, and I really like it. It has the same, or it looks like it almost has the same base color as Edwards Gardens or even Emerald of Chivor, but it has a beautiful pink shimmer, not too much sheen in it, and I really like it. I have half a sample vial left, and I'm hoping to finish it this year. Next I have Ferris Wheel Press Lady Rose in Gold, and this one was actually a bottle that I had inherited from someone, and I actually kept giving out samples of this to friends to the point where I only have enough left to fill a 5 ml sample vial. It's a very light ink with a really pretty gold bronzy shimmer. Not always the best for writing with, but it's still a pretty ink, and I'm going to try and hang on to this for as long as I can. So this is Ferris Wheel Press Steeped Umber. I have very little of this charger left, but I thought, you know what, I'll just document everything that I have. And this is a lovely kind of reddish brown, and it actually has a very good flow. I'm thinking, do I use this for painting, or do I put it in a pen and just wait for it to run out? I don't know, we'll see. Next we have Ferris Wheel Press Storied Blue. I really like this shade of blue, kind of the muted grayish blue. Very similar to Celadon Cat, but I think this one is a little bit more saturated. Next we have Ferris Wheel Press Workshop Wishes. This was a sample sent to me by a viewer, and I really like the lighter brown base of this, and then you add that kind of bronzy silvery shimmer. It just makes it stand out. Otherwise, I think without the shimmer it would almost be too light, but it works out really well with the shimmer. Next we have Ink Institute Moonshine. I have had this in my ink sample collection for I guess a good couple of years now. It's, well, no, since March 2023. It's not one I use for writing. This one I mostly use for painting. It's so great for painting, and unfortunately not legible in an extra fine or a fine nib, but if you like painting, this is a great one for it. The next is Monarca Cardona. I don't have a lot of ink left in this. It's like basically not even half a mil left in this little sample vial, but I got these from a giveaway that I won from Amarillo Stationery. This is a beautiful ink, and for the first few times that I used it, I totally missed out on the shimmer, but the shimmer makes this ink. Without the shimmer, the sheen is too strong for me, but with the shimmer, it is a beautiful reddish festive ink. The next one in this set that I received is Monarca Cielo Cruel. Cielo Cruel? Cielo Cruel? I'm not sure. Oh, there goes Lucy. But this is a really lovely ink. It's kind of headed towards the blue black, but it's not that dark. I like this type of blue where it's not bright blue. Although, I don't know. I'm a little bit, I've got like mixed opinions on blues. So depending on the day that you ask me, some days I like them and some days I don't. The next in this set is Monarca Nepal. This is actually not the first sample of Monarca Nepal that I've ever had, and I really like it. It's a lovely foresty green, and then when it dries, it's got a bit of a red sheen around the edges. A really great ink for fall and for Christmas. The next one is probably my favorite in this whole set. This is Ray Jaguar. It's a kind of more muted yellow, but with gold shimmer. I couldn't come up with the words for a second. It is really lovely. I mean, even on its own without the shimmer, it reminds me a little bit of Birmingham Pen Co barley, but then you add the gold shimmer, it's almost like a muted version of Pelican Golden Barrel. Really lovely. The last ink in this 5-ink Monarca series is Tierra Colorada. It reminds me a little bit of Ferris Wheel Press Steeped Umber in that kind of burnt brown, warmer toned brown. I'm not an expert on browns, even though I really like browns, but this is a warmer toned kind of burnt brown, if that makes sense. The next ink is one that I've had a bottle of and then ended up selling it or giving it away, and then somebody sent me a sample and I'm like, you know what, I really should give this one another chance. This is Narwhal Explorer Atlantic Blue. It's a darker teal turquoise, kind of like the base of Diamine Enchanted Ocean, but without the shimmer. And this ink is actually really well behaved, so if you haven't tried Narwhal inks yet, I do recommend them. The next ink is a brand that I was only introduced to this year. This is BBS number 443 Mung Bean Cake. This reminds me a little bit of Sailor Urameko Kitsune Biori. It's a lighter ink. Surprisingly though, for how light it is, I found it legible in a fine nib or higher than that. So I don't know, give it a try because it is more of a muted brown beige type of color, and I actually really enjoyed it. Next we have Pannonia. This was a Scriptus 2023 exclusive. This is Lights of Niagara. I wasn't sure if I would like this one, but it is bright and punchy and actually really nice, even in an extra fine nib. The sheen and the shimmer in this, the sheen doesn't normally work really well for me, but this one, there's a right balance of sheen and shimmer. I really enjoyed this. Next we have Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukushi, and please let me know, is this the one that's being discontinued or that was discontinued this year? I haven't tried this one before because when I first discovered Pilot inks, I wasn't really into brown and I never ended up trying this one, but this is more of like a reddish brown that kind of reminds me of Steeped Umber as well, but a really great one to try. I'm excited to try it this year. Next I have Robert Oster Asterkisa Olive, a sample sent to me by a friend, and I really like the kind of more muted chromo shading characteristics of this ink. I had inked this up a few months ago, almost gave it away, and decided no, I need to give this another chance. The next we have here is Robert Oster in collaboration with the Coffee Monsters Co. Helen came out with these at her, I think it was her anniversary sale or before that, and I got a sample of this from Corolla. Beautiful creamy coffee ink. I just feel like this is the best way to represent coffee in an ink. The next Coffee Monsters Co collaboration with Robert Oster is Day to Night, and this one matched the collection that Helen had created for her anniversary sale. I really like this burgundy purpley pink type of color, and when you look at the ink closely, or the ink swatch closely as it dries, you can see there's a little bit of chromo shading happening here. It's a very wet ink though. Next we have Robert Oster Fire and Ice, another really good blue ink. This was one I think people really recommend and really like out of all of the Robert Oster inks, especially if you're starting out. It's a really good blue ink that kind of reminds me of Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukio. Next we have Robert Oster Muddy Sand, another brown ink, but this is a little bit different to, for example, Coffee Monster. This one is, I want to say, a little bit more yellow in tone, and I actually prefer the browns kind of in this tone versus like the reddish browns. I like the more yellowy browns like this. The last Robert Oster sample that I have is Rose Gold Antigua, and I have tried this before, used up all the sample, and then just never repurchased it again. It's such a great pink with a lovely goldish pink shimmer. If you've never tried this, I do recommend it. It's such a fun one to try, and actually the shimmer behaves really well in a pen. Next I have Sailor 50 States Wisconsin. I actually currently have this in a pen inked up, and it's a really well-behaving purple. And then once it dries, you can see even in the ink swatch there, little hints of pink. And this is why I love Sailor inks, because there's a little bit of surprise once they're dried. Next we have Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. This was one of the first ink bottles that I ever purchased, and I had used enough of it, but also given out samples of this to the point where I only have enough left to fill a sample vial. It's a beautiful, dusty, lilac purple color, and it's funny seeing it next to Robert Oster Day to Night because it's almost like it's a lighter version of that ink. Next we have Teranishi Nostalgic Honey. I just tried this ink in the last couple of months and it became one of my favorites for 2024. This orangey brown color is just so warm and inviting, and it behaves really, really well in a pen, even in an extra fine nib. The next ink is one that I also received. Was this around the San Francisco Pen Show or a little bit after that? But this is the Wet Pen Diablo Lake. I really like this tone of teal or turquoise, kind of like grayish blue, and I'm excited to try this in a pen. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I really like the saturation and tone of this ink. Next I have Troublemaker Copper Patina. This again was sent to me by a pen friend, and I'm just actually using it now in my December currently inked. I really like the base of this, and then you've got the gold shimmer. So far it's working really well, and I'm looking forward to finishing up this sample. Next I have Troublemaker Sepia Hour, another sample sent to me by a pen friend, and this one is lovely. I feel like it's a lighter, more muted version of something like Ferris Wheel Press Steeped Umber, kind of in that burnt brown tone, but a little bit lighter, so it kind of looks like it's coral as well. A really, really interesting ink. Next we have Van Diemen's August, and this was sent to me by pen friend S. Thank you very much. I actually really like this ink. I don't own a lot of red inks, but when I do, they're lovely and shimmery. This one actually reminds me a little bit of Ferris Wheel Press Cabernet on the Lake. Next we have Van Diemen's May, another one sent by pen friend S, and this one has a beautiful purple base with gold shimmer, and then it's also got a little bit of sheen to it as well. It's a really, really interesting ink, and this is the second sample that she has sent me, and I have loved both. Next we have Wearingeul Dracula, another sample sent by a lovely friend, and again another red ink that I don't normally go for red inks, but I love this one because it's got a lovely bold red shade, kind of like Ferris Wheel Press Cabernet on the Lake, but then it has this blue silvery purple shimmer. Really pretty. Next we have Wearingeul Persephone, and I really loved this ink. Tempted to buy myself another bottle. I like the grayish purple shade in here, but then you have the lovely pink shimmer. Perfect. Next we have Wearingeul Stone Cutter Song. I feel like this is very similar to a lot of those Birmingham Pen Co inks that are in the brown, dusty, purple, gray area, but I really like the brown tone of this. I feel like it really matches with my newest Welltown pens in the Strata quartz, but it also flows really well. And the last of my ink samples, we have Wearingeul, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, a lovely, more muted green, but I feel like this is very similar to Colorverse Alpha Pisces, which I already have. But I really like that. I don't have many Wearingeul inks, but what I do have, I really like. So let's do a quick flip through here. I'm not going to put anything on these pages as of yet, because what I'm going to put here are stickers that I get from different pen shops and vendors and friends. Then there's my title page with the ink splatters from my sticker shop. And then starting with all of my ink bottles. Yes, the paper is bleeding through a bit, but I kind of expected that with how thick some of the swatches were. And I'm so glad that I'm swatching everything that I currently own, because it gives me a way to just see everything that I own and kind of take stock of what I still like, what I can let go, and things like that. So in total, ink bottles for, well, what I'm ending 2024 with and what I'm starting 2025 with is 57. I'm looking at my spreadsheet for what I started 2024 with. I started 2024 with 37 ink bottles, so I went up 20. Although saying that, like 10 were given by Anderillium inks, and then I've had some from friends over the course of the year. And then all of my ink samples. I appreciate you all sticking around for watching me swatch every single one of these, but I love seeing all the ink samples that I have, because there are a few of these that I haven't had a chance to put into a pen yet, so it's been nice to, again, see everything all at once, see what I've tried but put away to try again in the future, and then now seeing them all at once here, it really helps me to figure out, like, what do I want to keep and what do I really like. And then at the end of 2024, I'm ending the year with 69 ink samples, which is actually less than what I started with. I started 2024 with 76 ink samples, and I'm looking at all my stats. I was gifted over 100 ink samples, but I also used or gave away over 100, so that kind of balanced it out. But ending the year with less ink samples than I started with, I feel like is a really big win. And then here are all the fountain pens that I own as of, I guess, the end of December 2024. The 2 stars here are ones that I purchased but have been stalled due to the Canada Post strike, but I'm hoping to receive them before the end of the year. If not, they count as pens that I purchased in 2024. But yeah, my current count of pens that I currently own is 47. I started 2024 off with 38, so I went up 9 pens. Wow, I went up 9 pens in 2024, which is funny because I purchased 30, I was gifted 8, and then I sold, gave away, or retired 31. My stats are a little off here, so being able to see it all like this is really helpful. And then from this point on, I will do my currently inked, any ink explorations. I have plenty of pages here to do that in, but I like setting it up this way so that I know what I'm starting the year off with. And hold on here. It's so fun going back to my really chunky Galen leather A5 notebook and seeing all this. I will do a proper flip through of this, but comparing the Hobonichi, what I'm starting with, look at how skinny it is compared to that. And I cannot wait to see this notebook as chunky as this as well. But, whoops, what I'm also adding to it, because there's not going to be enough pages to do all of that in here, is this Hobonichi A6 Hone. I bought this off of Amazon because I like the cover. It's from 2024, but I don't really care about the dates too much. And what I'm going to do in here every day is going to either do a Zentangle, or I'm also really trying to work on my drawing skills. So both of these two together will be my ink journal. All right, so that is my whole ink collection and what I'm starting or ending 2024 off with, or starting 2025 off with. Let me know how you're organizing your ink and pen journal going forward. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching and for sticking with me through this whole long video. Take care, and wishing you all a great, happy new year.